Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Community Live broadcast of the Chase Race with AutoCap, powered by WTRL. We're in Zone 4, as we usually are for the broadcast today. Number lucky 13, and lucky for you, everybody, you're out on the Knickerbocker course, the world's course for this weekend, obviously, so that's why we're throwing that out there. Yesterday, I wake up, and I'm like, every time I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. We're going again after a really long day of broadcasting yesterday, which I absolutely love it. Once we sit down and we get going with this, and Anna gets in here and she busts out her whiteboard and starts talking about how awesome the Chase race is, I get all kinds of excited again for the broadcast. Anna, Knickerbocker, what are you thinking?
I'm just thinking, as I'm sitting in the pen, Kristen Kulczynski is racing in the A's.
Really?
Boom. Yep,
Okay.
she's there. And I'm thinking...
She's just going to drop everybody.
Well, you're looking at the World Champs happening this weekend. I'm super pumped. Oh my gosh, we've also got Eleanor Wiseman. She's one of my Sarah Snowpin's teammates. She's the Belgium Esport national champ. We have got some hitters in the A's. There's been chat already on YouTube about who's going to take it out. I'm looking at the A's now. It is the A's. There are people using this as a recon for the race this weekend. Kristen Kulczynski has got to be one of the faves to take out the women's race. You have to say, I mean, Ashley Millman-Passio, hard to beat. Kristen Kulczynski, this is a treat to be able to watch her racing in this Chase race today.
It is. Now, the question is, though, with such hard, I mean, we've had heavy hitters show up before, right? And then what ends up happening is they end up riding their own race, though. Like, can they stay organized enough in that A category, like we saw with BL13 a couple of weeks back, and get that rotation going? The other question I have, did the D's even show up? like were they just like, this isn't what we signed up for. Not that interested in this situation here. Because, and the only reason I say that, and this may just be a results issue that we got going on here. Here's the course.
Yeah. I'm looking at this course and I'm thinking, you're saying, can the A's stay together? Do they need to? I think they stay together through the climb and then they go all in and just go, let's just take this away and time trial this last bit. There's so much rolling terrain. I don't know, other than the first half, how much pack advantage there is actually going to be in this race. I've just seen Alice Lethbridge out there as well in the A's. All these women hitters have turned up. I am absolutely all in for the A's for the win. I love seeing these guys out here. And this race, it's going to be so hard to predict. Absolutely hard to predict. I don't know if I can do it. There's not many D's, I would have to say. I know a few have come into chat to say they looked at the course and went, not today.
No,
it's not really a D type of a course, but it is an A course, and we have got some great races in there. I'm super pumped for this.
It is. And taking a look here real quickly at the results from the day, here's what I was thinking. I mean, I don't even see like they just said, forget it, right? So now look how close this is. This is actually very close in zones earlier in the day that usually we don't see the A's even involved. So I think you're right. That is a really good assessment that it's like, look, because of the nature of this course, they may just be able to show up and take it out with a solo rider or a few riders going hard on the climb and making that catch. So this is something we don't usually see, and perhaps is showing us the kind of courses where the A category, again, look at this, 40-11 there, 120 up, that they can actually make something happen. We're waiting for Zone 4, obviously, because we are in Zone 4. The A category is already getting some separation actually going here. As we take a look, it's going to be Veritas on the right-hand side and completely annihilating right now. We do see some chatter coming on through, asking people to kind of back it off a little bit as Morozov says, forget it. And he doesn't have to. That's the other thing, is because of the course, he could just give it a go off the front if he wants to. It is coming back together, though.
Yeah, it's coming back together. I saw Kristen just kind of push off the front at about a cool 7 watt per kg. Just going to say now, I am a huge fangirl, so if my commentary is really centered around one rider, it's just because I am so excited that we could have the potential world champion riding in this Chase race today. But all up the A's. But there is actually a B rider I saw sneaking in there. I'm not sure if it's P-Bomb. There was a rider I saw at the start who just let all the B's go and intentionally sat in there to go with the A's. So, yeah, baller move on this course.
Yeah, so I actually saw some chat early on just saying that there was a B rider that waited. They were waiting for the A category. So each week, I think there is this kind of like lone rider that's like, forget it. I'm just gonna wait up here for the rest of the A's. Now, why be a B rider and then wait up? Or perhaps if you have that is kind of a tactic if you do have a dropout or some sort of a technical issue, you could do that specifically just to, have to not on purpose, but you have a dropout or some sort of a technical, and you be like, well, whatever, I'll just go ride with the A's. Like, why ruin your race completely?
Yeah, to be honest, I think from just looking at what happened with this person in the pens, I think they just made the decision, I'm actually an A rider. Or they're just like, you know what, I'm just going to ride A and see how I go. So it's quite interesting. I mean, I actually raced a chase race on Monday, which was quite a lot of fun. And I rode in the Bs. But I think next time I may just join the A's and see how much you can push yourself. It is a good sort of stretch target with these races. So if you're a C racer, you could wait up and go with the Bs and see if you can hold on. It's you have been auto-catted into a category and you will stand out like a sore thumb because your kit will show you, as you can see there, green amongst red. But it is a great way to sort of test your threshold.
It is definitely an amazing way for threshold efforts. Over unders essentially is what you do get out of it if you do push off the front and do a little bit of work. We are in with the C's on the left here now, as the main brunt of the work is being put in by this Rockcliffe PFC Bugatti now off the front, 4.3 watts per kilogram. As you did see with this course profile, definitely a little bit interesting as we're going to have a couple little bumps like this, 4.5 kilometers in. They are going to be hitting a very steep climb. They are going to be making their way up toward the Knickerbocker climb shortly after that. Right around the 9-kilometer marker is where we'll be looking for that main punch when it comes to the climbing out here today. Now, as we do get into this, though, there's going to be a very steep 9% gradient, as you can see, 10%, little bit of a kick, as with these A category riders right now taking that on for the chase. And I think because of the nature of these gradients, even early on, it's going to make things really difficult for this C category to hold off.
Now, I know that we are watching the chase race, but we have picked this course. Well, Martin at WTRL has picked this course because it is the World Champs course. A couple of laps of this plus a climb finish this weekend. How do you see this playing out in the Worlds? Because do you see anyone attacking on these little climbs? Or does everyone realize it is absolutely all coming down to those QOM, KOM climbs up on those glass roads? Or I guess if you've got a big enough team, you just sacrifice some riders on these sort of smaller climbs to draw out some attacks and then, tire some legs out before that QOM. But then the other question comes down to, you can tell I've been putting a lot of thought into this. Does esport racing have the same kind of team cohesiveness that you would see on in real life kind of trade teams? Are people willing to sacrifice because they're not face to face, right? So you're not going to have a teammate be like, hey buddy, what are you doing? You're kind of, I mean, they could do it on Discord, but will people work together in a team? Are we at that stage in esport racing? Or will it be similar to the world champs that you see in real life? I think back to the women's Dutch team where it just kind of all fell apart in the world champs because they're not racing for trade teams, they're racing for their country teams, and there's so much on the line. So what do you think? Do you think teams will actually work together, or is it all in for yourself?
Okay, so there's two questions there, right? Like the first question is what could happen, and the second question is motivation, right? So there is the what could happen, and in my opinion, when it comes to the entirety of the teams, there's only certain individuals that'll be there at the end. So everything else is a waste that waited to get there. Okay? So why did they wait to get there? You could have like some backup, like you could like hold on to some resources, which would be a couple of riders that can chase things down if they need to and make sure they set someone up like Kristen Kolczynski that we're looking at here, like a Courtney Nelson for Team USA. Those would be a couple that I would kind of put on the radar when it comes to that final climb and being there. But then everybody else that makes it there that hasn't been a workhorse, to make sure it's together for when you need that person to be there, or make sure they make the move and set them up well. What are they there for? Just to get beat? Like, what was the point? And so, in my opinion, take the risks and use those resources that you have out on the course to make the race what it needs to be for those riders. Otherwise, they're just bodies taking up space. Like, they don't have any kind of, as we get into the climb here, actually, we do have a couple of C's doing exactly that, using the landscape that they have in front of them on the first climb up here. And it is going to be Skull. Skull, always a super strong rider here, making his way through with Brahma right next to him. And another.
And C-Cat. And C-Cat now.
Yeah, he got the upgrade.
Usually in DCAT, so good to see that there's been an upgrade there, and he is now a C rider. Obviously,
so
I mean, his performances have been phenomenal. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Anna, and I think that it could play out. And if I were a DS, I would play it out where I'm not going to waste people's time. You know what I mean? Or it's not even about their time, but there's only so much time on course. There's only so much resources we have, using the best way that we possibly can. And so, make the race hard where it needs to be hard, and protect the riders you need to protect to get them to that final climb. And if something sticks, even better, you got a chance at a podium. You know what I mean? Even better, you put somebody where they need to be. Now, it is risky, though, right? Like, something sticks, and it sticks with a rider that can't handle another rider that's going with it. You know, I mean, there's a lot of variations that can happen, but I would definitely be using every single resource. The motivation side, I think that Zwift racing actually is more, maybe not more, but definitely there's something that connects people, in my opinion, over the virtual world that is almost more year-round connected, more like people who are in the community. But I'm talking about the community racers, though. I am talking about the community racers.
Yeah, I think it's different. And if you look at it, like, I'm really intrigued, because you have, I mean, if I'm looking at it, you've got, I mean, Team USA I'm looking at the women's side. Team USA on the women's side has got to be one of the strongest teams, against one rider pretty much being Ashley Moolman-Pasio. I mean, you've got Sarah Gigante in there as well from Aussie, Neve Bradbury as well, Ella Harris from New Zealand. So it's kind of Team USA versus solo riders from other country teams. So how do you play that? As Team USA, you've got maybe 3 riders in there who could all win, but you kind of need to attack to make the other solo riders like Ashley vulnerable, and then someone else will take the win. Now, but would a great rider in Team USA be willing to sacrifice their race for a Team USA win? Exactly.
And that's the question,
because this is the point, right?
Like,
is those
so you look
riders,
at it and you go, really is it really only solo riders on these other teams too? That's a really, because I mean, there might be people coming out of the woodwork. And that's the other thing is I do want to say I'd have to go look at things on paper a little bit more, because I haven't. I don't have to DS a team right this moment. I haven't really looked at I've looked at some of the numbers last week, but I got to go take another look again to really get an idea of where things are at. Because on paper, it's going to tell us a lot. Look at Skull going again. He's got 32 seconds. He just said, forget it. He's like, I'm gone, and I'm going to try and win this thing against the A's. He might do it. The A's are just starting their climb.
Yeah, I've just seen that. But Skull, great job there. I mean, he's a great climber, so this is the part he's got to catch up on. On the downhill, I wouldn't be surprised if Brimley caught back up. I think the others, though, 34 seconds back, they'll still be all right to potentially get on. It is an interesting one, too, in the World's Course. The power-ups are determined, so each banner, you know which power-up you're going to get. So there isn't that element of chance in there like you'll see in today's race, because you'd say today when they go over the top, you'd be kind of, Skull here would kind of be hoping for an aero just to give him a little bit of extra speed on the downhill, or at least try and catch up if a pack comes by. And yeah, in the world's course, you know what you're going to get. So everyone is sitting there with the same power up. It's just when you detonate that power up is what people won't know.
KK off the front with Star Lord. Here we go. I mean, you were right. She's here to smash this right now. As I know, she calls it Hulk smash. 7.3 watts per kilogram to the front right now. She's going full green mode and just demolishing every C and B out on course right now. We haven't really taken a look at the Bs yet. We'll have to find them out here, but the boys are saying, okay, this is what it's like for somebody who's chasing someone who wants that world championship this weekend. And now a solid 7 points. And here's the thing. I did look at the numbers, and it is a solid like 7-ish watts per kilogram is what you need for the win. And look at this. She's right there.
She is looking really 8 watts per kg. I mean, we've seen these numbers. She was head to head with Ashley Millman Passio, probably one of the top 5 in real life pro tour climbers in the world. Up Epic Climb, she was right on her. I think it ended up just being about 7 seconds at the end. Dropping an arrow here, I would say that's an interesting, I would say, almost mistake there from Kristen Kolchinski is you'd want to be dropping the arrow more on the flat terrain right here.
Like right now.
Right now. Yeah. So that was too early. So if she watches later, that's a little bit of a tip for a very, very high level Zwifter is drop it on the flat. There's no aero advantage on any of that kind of climb above 3%. She's got a wheel coming by, so hopefully she'll jump onto this now. Looks like Myatt there. And Alice Lethbridge 2 seconds behind. These guys are kind of. Now, would you?
Do you think? Quick question. Do you think the bike choice is what she's going for at Worlds?
Doesn't matter. All the bikes are evened out.
Oh, yeah, you're right. They are all evened out. Yeah. I just remembered that. Yeah. Yep. The bike choice
Which was a little bit depressing for me. I'm DSing the New Zealand team, and I was like getting all into what kind of bike selections, and then I read the rules and was like, oh, they're all evened out, so it doesn't really matter.
So we do have a question about really bike choice for today, though. What would you say would be the best bike choice for today, Anna?
So I always go back to the guidance you gave me probably about a year ago now that is stuck in my head, Nathan, which is you pick the bike for where you're going to make something happen. Now, because this isn't a scratch race, I would go the Tron because essentially you're trying to stay in the pack. So it doesn't really matter.
You're trying to get the most rolling throughout. This is like a time trial, so you need the best throughout the whole of the race, right?
Exactly. If this was a scratch race, I would be going myself. I would be picking quite a climbing setup. So if I look at what happened yesterday in the scratch races, half our team, the side what you'd call the non-climbers, were on Tron bikes around the Richmond UCI course. And then the 3 of us who were more climbers or more given the task of pushing pace up the climbs, we were on actually disc wheels and Venge just because we could get through the climbs. We didn't have a problem there. We probably needed a little bit more help on the flat parts with the high power numbers. So yeah, it really depends on where you're going to attack. If you're a good climber and you're going to attack the climb on this course, go a more climbing setup. Maybe a sort of a Scott Addict with, I wouldn't say a super lightweight wheel, but yeah, maybe like an NV's 3.4 or something like that.
Well, great suggestion there coming in from Anna. Good call yesterday, I think, also on the setup. Because you can get through the climbs a lot easier in the team time trial. Speaking of the team time trial a little bit for ZRL yesterday, it really is one of those days that people can shine that don't usually shine throughout the rest of the points races, right? We had a lot of swings in points yesterday. We had a lot of situations. I mean, then there's Team Riot who just does everything well. I don't know who's managing. I don't know who's managing that thing, but man, oh my gosh! But besides Team Riot, we did have a couple of. I mean, we saw KRT show up yesterday in a way in the EMEA that we haven't seen in a really long time, which is really cool to see for the women's side of things. There was a pretty awesome battle going on there. We saw within the men's central a pretty big upsets. I mean, there's been teams also, I think, that are lower down on the leaderboard that are really good on the time trials, though, are able to show up and grab some extra points. So I really enjoyed yesterday in that these teams that have the experience as well as just kind of more raw power could show up and maybe take down a day where they're used to getting kind of whooped on a little bit by these sprinter points races sometimes.
Yeah, it was quite fun. I mean, that was my first team time trial in a long time. I'd say over a year. I was a little bit excited and did a couple of bad hero pulls off the front, but then, I got pulled into line and made it a bit smoother. But, you know, you talked about Team Right. That is the team that we set up for the community league. We've been racing together now for over 2 years. And I think that is the secret sauce, is a team that is just so cohesive and we know so innately each other's strengths and weaknesses. So I think that is what makes a really good team, and that's why we can perform week on week on week, is that we are actually in it for the team, and we know each other very well. So it's quite I know Dave called out yesterday that Riot is the best community team in history. That is a big call. That was a big call. I sent that quote to the team.
I had to slow that one down just a little bit. I had to slow that. I mean, no offense, but I was kind of like, let's just pull that back a tad, like, because I mean, some of the best one-liners definitely come from Dave Toll across the board. Sometimes they get a little excited. I don't know if you could tell, but that one I was like, I mean, I'm down with like a top 5, top 10,
Yeah, okay,
but there's a lot of other teams in the community, some that aren't even a part of the broadcast, you know what I mean? Because they're at a certain time or a certain zone. They're probably like, wait a second, like, there's a long history here too. I mean, there's only the last 2 years, year and a half of this
I know.
community stuff. And it's kind of like, well, KRT just pulled this off over here, and they've been around from the get-go. That was pretty amazing too. So how would you judge that? That's a long conversation, right?
Like, I mean, I'm biased. I'd say Riot's the best,
Riot?
But I mean,
okay, gotcha.
that's just me.
That's the default.
But it is what I'm liking to see, is you can tell teams who are working super well together. I do just want to note, it's very tricky here watching to see where all these groups are on the road. I think I've found the front of the Bs now. It's just about down to sort of 6 riders. They've got a few sort of straggly Cs in there, but it looks like they are about 15 seconds behind the main group of Cs. But what's happened is a couple of Cs I'm talking about Skull. He's gone well off the front. He is getting reined in. So Skull is leading the Cs. Yep. So he is in front of the race at the moment.
He's long gone.
He's gone. He is 30 seconds ahead of a main pack of Cs. And then that group of Cs is 30 seconds ahead of the main group of Bs. So that's where we're sitting after the climb. They're 15K in. They've only got about, 7, 8K to go. So Skull is on full individual TT mode. The Bs are desperately trying to catch up. And the As, with a group with Kristen Kolczynski, I mean, there are so many stragglers between that main group of Bs and the main group of As. It is tricky to see. But the As are going pretty fast. Star-Lord moving on the front. You can see there on the climb, the 10%. Now, this is where those As are going to catch up. Yeah.
They've got about 25 seconds to the chase of A categories right now. Kolczynski looking like she just dropped off for a second here. There's only 5 of them, but they are pulling pretty intensely at this point. We'll see how that ends up playing out here between these A's. They did have about 300 meters to close down, so they're almost within sight for those B category riders. Let's see if we can find the B category again out there. We did lose them for just a second. But as we click around a little bit, we'll be able to jump back in with them. Some lone C's out here as well as we do jump back in with the side-by-side. They are quite a ways up, though, some of those C category riders still. I don't know. Is the catch going to be made here today? I have a feeling that
I don't think so.
I think these A's may not have it interesting enough. I thought for sure it's going to be a day for the A's with the kind of power we got here, but
no, because do you see what's happened is you look at their watts per kg, these A's. I think basically Kristen Kolczynski has come out today to just absolutely demo that climb, see what she's got, see the strategy, see when to drop power-ups. And now she's kind of sitting in, and I think everyone else is just a bit smashed after that climb, and they are kind of sitting at not a huge pace. I mean, they're on the front at 3.5 to 4.5 watts a kg, and there's only 5 of them. I think they've lost the impetus.
Still, right? 700 meters still. It's a pretty big gap.
That's a big gap. And
There's like
No,
6K
and
left.
the bees look motivated. They're looking really good. They're in a big group too, and like it's rolling terrain now. So the bees they are looking really good. They've managed to keep together a great group of them over the climb. Um, Two groups of bees on the road, a bigger group behind. They're now 9 seconds behind a sort of quasi group of Cs. And what is nice for these riders out here is they can see each other because there's all these sort of like riders just all over the show. They're able to keep their motivation high by just picking off the riders as they go. And I know from doing a chase race on Monday, there was great motivation, was sort of just picking off little riders. And you're like, oh, we've got another one. We've got another one. We've got another one. So yeah, this is a good course for keeping the motivation high.
It is. We are seeing that low and C off the front now. Skull still with a 30-second gap. It looks like not sure he's going to be caught, as you see on the left-hand side of the screen here. Continues to demolish these races. We'll see if he ends up with an upgrade here, even to the B category. Even in the B category, he'd be a super strong rider traveling along here still at 45 kilometers per hour. The A's on the right-hand side now at this point with Voss, Myatt. It looks like Jodson from DZR. They're gaining time, though, on the chasing A's. Interesting enough, is containing Alice Lethbridge, as you had pointed out. This is a smaller group of chasing A's, though. I think that, again, with that group, though, they have lost a little bit of motivation. This is the main one. Star-Lord here on the right-hand side of your screen is really taking on the brunt of the work. I think you're right. Kristen came out to just smash that climb in the middle of a TT-type effort. Now she is pulling through, though, at a solid 5.2 for a second. I think that's just to hang on, as you could see. So Skull looks like going to do what he does best, and that's win races here in the chase races. He is off the front. Question, though, will he hold on? I think they closed down a little bit of time to him, actually. He was up to 30, and now he's back down to 20 seconds to the chasers.
Yeah, it's in 20. They could have it. If the C group is caught by this kind of big B group, which it looks like they will be fairly soon, that time could come down pretty quick because they've still got a bit of descent, a bit of rolling terrain where the group size does matter. So I think this is looking pretty good, actually. For them being able to make the catch, we've got about 4 to 5K to go. Bromley has just caught up to Skull. Bromley has just caught up to another rider behind him. They're still 30 seconds back, actually. Oh, I think Skull could have it, actually. It's he's getting a bit of motivation from Nathan Shank out there, a C compatriot. So, yeah, he's looking pretty good. I mean, there's questions. Is he actually a B rider? I mean, could he just keep getting order? By the time we're 3 races down, he's an A cat already. He's that strong.
I mean, I think he is that strong. I do think he is that strong that the final C catch has been made besides Skull, who is off the front here still at this point. But yeah, I do think that with the watts per kilogram that are rewarded, you have the interesting algorithm, and it might be a test for the algorithm. That's the other thing is that, as AutoCat continues to get updated, every single game has new meta, right? That comes with each and every season. As an example, I don't know if this is the best example, but last season we saw in Apex Legends, going from, I think it was a 0.06 auto aim assist on controllers to a 0.04. That's just one thing that major impact in the game, right? Like you have different damage levels from different guns change up. Similar here, like you might have a situation where the AutoCat tries to figure out where you go, and it might not be based so much on raw power and start weighting more toward the watts per kilogram. It might start, you know what I mean? It depends on where it's going to put the weight. And perhaps we're finding through the situation that the weight needs to go more towards watt per kilogram than some people actually have figured out in the past. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not the guy looking at the numbers here as to why people are placed where they are, actually.
And I think as well, it's very course dependent. This is a course that suits Skull because we've seen him on previous courses with climbs. I'm thinking the Makuri Islands one where it had sort of a big draggy climb up to the sort of claw. He broke away there as well, and that was where he took a solo victory. So he knows the terrain that will suit him and where to attack. I mean, because he was pushing some numbers up that climb. It was a hardcore attack to get this gap. So 25 seconds back now. So this group is chasing pretty hard, and it's already gone down to 23, 22.
This
I
B
actually
category.
21. This is actually catching really fast. I think 2 kilometers to go, 19 seconds as we're talking. The
They gotta go
numbers
full
are
gas though.
plummeting.
They got a 20
Yeah, they're
seconds
going
is
for
a
it.
lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot. 18 seconds
17
now.
down to 17.
Oh
No,
my
it's
God.
coming down quick.
But
This
they have
is
to roll. They
16
have to roll.
seconds.
Look at this uphill
Yep.
here at this point. This is gonna be tough. I don't know, Anna. What do you think? I don't think they're gonna do it. I think it's
Well,
not enough
look
landscape.
at
But I
Diogo.
might eat that. I might
Diogo on
eat
the
those
front.
words.
Diogo on the front was pushing 5 watts there. This is the terrain for the bees. This is where they can push really high numbers. Skull may be pushing high watts per kg, but as I'm looking at it, he's sort of sitting around, 170 raw kind of watts. These guys could be pushing, as we can see, up to 285. Oh, it's down to, it's kind of like push back up there to 20 seconds. So I don't know.
He probably rolled over.
I was getting really excited.
Is what happened. 13 seconds to Skull. We're seeing now.
Oh, okay.
16 seconds. It's coming back down again. Here we go. We got a race on our hands. 5.3 from Skull now as he pushes on.
Oh, you can see them. You can see them in the back. If you go to a front angle of Skull, you can see this group of Trons coming for him from behind.
13 seconds. They're right there.
You can just see them.
Oh my
gosh,
man,
this
the
race
catch
is finishing
201
so soon.
beats per minute. There's a left-hand turn in just a moment, and he's going to be on the second to last finishing straight. And then it's an uphill grind in a moment here. What's going to happen?
They've got it. When the sprints open up, they're going to come by. That's down to about 8 seconds, maybe 6 seconds. I think, this group behind.
Look at how fast it's coming on. Look at how fast that group is coming on here. And look at the speed differentiation. Maybe watts per kilogram aren't where it's at because it was where it was at when it came to the uphill. But looking at this now with the flat, everybody, we saw a lot of chatter about, the watts per kilogram, but look at the speed. He is, he's barely moving comparatively. It was just the uphill that we had there. So interesting to see. We've got some infighting actually in the A category. I'm just going to highlight and then come right back to the sprint that's about to open up. But Myatt said, forget it. You guys don't have, I'm out of here. Kolchinski's looking to chase. Kolchinski's chasing down Star-Lord now. There's a battle full on between Kolchinski and these boys right now. Loving to see that. And they're right around the corner, actually. They almost made the catch. They're literally
They did.
Oh my gosh, this was
Look
so
at this
close.
open up though. Lessard going off the front with the aero power up very, very early. Is this going to get caught? Air is there at 10.9. No, he's going to get caught. That was a bit too early.
Is he? Is he?
Is he?
It's right to the line.
Oh my
Bike back SZ going to make it happen? Is it going to be a C category? No. I don't know if it was Aries or if it was Bike Pack. It might have been Clar or Aries. I'm not sure between the two of them. And then in the A category, this is coming right to the line. They were right behind them, but Myatt here made the late move and was able to just hold off the rest of the A's, it looks like, just limping to the line. Voss, Star-Lord, and then Kolchinski coming in for fourth after demolishing the climb. Looks like some good practice for some world championships here. Oh my gosh, I'm loving it. That was not a McDonald's promo. Not a McDonald's promo.
Oh man, I'm just reading through all the chat. There's a lot of chat as per usual on this chase race, so that's good. Alejandro Malia, he's saying, hi Anna, hi Nathan, skip to the one for today. Not good for a heavy rider. We saw that. And Tennille Irish was actually in the chat, not racing for once.
Well, she might have taken, well, I mean, we're kind of coaching her a little bit through the broadcast, like, hey, maybe you need a rest day. maybe you need a rest. You know what's funny is amongst the Zwift community, I end up saying that a lot to people. Like, you kind of might need to take a day off here and there, just so you know. And they want to race, they want to race, they want to race, they want to race. It gets really exciting, and like, there's all of this positive feedback that comes from it. You see advantages, you see your gains and things like that, and you go, oh man, I just want to keep going. And next thing you know, you find people get can get burnt out a little bit sometimes. But
I would say that I felt burnt out last week. I had a terrible race. We went on holiday. I took 4 days off the bike, and felt great yesterday. So that's a good lesson. Took a little break. However, then while I'm on holiday, I see that there's some, Rafa climbing challenge that got announced for the weekend. I was like, oh, I'll do that. My husband's like, no, just come on, relax. Don't do it.
Just relax on the sofa and watch the World Championships. That's what
Oh, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Are we doing this on Saturday? Is this happening? Or should I just say it or no? I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, go for it. A little watch party.
Okay. Yeah. So Anna's, is it public knowledge? I don't know if you're You're de-essing. You're de-essing, right?
I'm de-essing Team New Zealand. We've got a small but enthusiastic team.
Okay, so she'll be de-essing, but we will at least have an Anna and Nathan watch party for the men's side of things. We'll see what we can do for the women's side of things. Still looking for somebody to sit in for that because Anna's obviously going to be a little bit busy during that. But we're going to have some fun just kind of hanging out, having commentary. We won't obviously have any images of the race, but we will be talking about what's happening in front of you while you're watching the other races. So that'll be watching the broadcast of the race for the World Championships. So it'll be a lot of fun, get some reactions and a lot of predictions. We'd love to have your chatter around it here over on ZCL. Well, let's take a look at the results here real quick. It does look like they have come in, and obviously it was, again, the situation with Skull, but not the same result that we had in the past. Interesting enough, we did have a D rider. I didn't realize we had some D riders out there today. So 208. Yes. Shout out to the Ds. Good job showing up.
Shout out. That is not a course for you.
Yeah. 1 second it says. That's not. Is that true? Came down to 1 second, really? 39.54. Was there an A that snuck in amongst those Bs somehow that went off the front? I have to double check on that, but solid result though either way. Here for that B category. Let's go ahead and see who the actual winner was, though, on the day as we wait for a couple of these updates to come on through. And it was Klar. Klar was able, the Swedish rider there, just to nip. And that was like a last-second effort there across the line. He was able to come around Aries. It was Andre Lassard. Next one on through. Now, first amongst the women, though, was Kristen Kolchinski.
Of course.
Right? Oh, no.
Fangirl.
No, sorry. Charlotte Kolkov was in with the B category. My apologies. She was the first amongst those A category riders, though, obviously. Taken fourth overall amongst them. We actually also had Ariel Verharen and then Stephanie Parker. That's first, second, and third for the Bs. And then Stephanie Parker's actually a C category rider who hung on with the Bs after they were caught. And ended up taking 25th in the sprint, ahead of Nathan Shank and James Orick with the sprint amongst those boys. So solid effort there for Stephanie Parker. Big shout out to the C category there.
Yeah, that's a great job, actually. And good job that someone managed to beat Kristen Kolchinski. If Kristen ends up being the world champion, was her name Charlotte from the BCAT? She could... get that printed off that she beat the world champion.
Loving it. Absolutely. So what do we got going on next? TTT is going on tomorrow. Obviously, the Team Time Trial World Tournament. So if you didn't know.
Yes, I'm in that.
So what's happening with that with you? I didn't know, you're doing the World Tournament?
Yeah, I'm guest riding for NZ Bro, the cheese rollers.
Wait, you know what's funny is I just happen to have some cheese rollers hanging out here.
That's us.
What is? Can you give all the us in the world what is this cheese roll? What are those things? What's going on here?
New Zealand delicacy. It is a roll filled with melted cheese, toasted. Usually, you can do it at a sandwich press or grilled in the oven. It's quite nice as well.
But yeah, delicious. Is it?
Just, you'd probably use a good old Tasty or Edam. I don't know if you guys have those kind of cheeses. Those are
I'm from Wisconsin, and I don't even
Zealand.
know what those are. And who's your little friend? We have a little friend.
She's poking her head up. She's playing with the mic a bit, so see how she goes here.
I love it.
Yeah, she's
this
in
is
for
the
the
community
last
live
part.
as it gets right here. I don't know,
This is like
Real quick,
Zwift community family.
well, quick joke, like was it CNN or C-SPAN or whatever with the little girl walking in, the professor's like, "Get out of here!"
Oh
Do you see that
yeah.
meme from a while ago?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, early on in Zwift broadcasting, ZCL did a lot of Zwift's main page stuff, and Kyle just walks right on in, like my son, just like, "Hey!" And he did the exact same thing, walked in like a boss, kind of a thing. But I wasn't like, "Well, hi, Kyle," and we played it all right though, and he was a part of the broadcast for a minute. So my son Kyle, my now
Oh, nice.
12-year-old, but yeah. Always great. Great stuff, everybody. Well, thanks, everybody, for tuning in. World Championships obviously coming up real quickly here, people. So be on the watch out for the watch party happening this weekend. We appreciate everybody jumping into the broadcast. Make sure to hit those follow buttons. Do all of those awesome things for the channel. And check out WTRL for all of the results as usual. We'll see you guys tomorrow for the TTT World Tournament and for Watch Party on Saturday for World Championships. As always, everybody, ride on.